Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Eagles fans, to another edition of your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. It's the Locked On Eagles podcast. As always, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, guys. Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Louis DiBiase joining you on this Thursday night edition of the show alongside my co-host Gino Camilleri. It's the post-game show. The Eagles fall on Thursday Night Football to 2-4 on the season, a 28-22 loss at Lincoln Financial Field to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to get into that game throughout the show. It was definitely a game kind of like the Carolina Panthers matchup last week, where the opposing team dominated for 3.5 quarters. The Eagles stormed back in the fourth quarter through Jalen Hurts and the offense, through the defense, really, hankering down and making plays. But this time it was too little, too late. We're both going to get into the, positives of this game, the negatives. Gino, it was great to see this young team fight back again against maybe the best team in football, against the greatest quarterback of all time. At one point it was 28-7 and you make it a 6-point game. That's very encouraging. 2 weeks in a row, having that resiliency is good for Nick Sirianni, is good for a young football team. But at the same time, it's too little too late. And you have to, the moral of the story the last 2 weeks, even though they won last week, was you have to be good in more than just the fourth quarter to consistently win in the NFL. This can't be a Tim Tebow 2011 Denver Broncos type of run. You're not going to sustain that type of play.
I think I said it after the last game that if you do exactly what you did against Carolina, you're not going to have success against Tampa Bay. I mean,
Sam Darnold and Tom Brady, very different situations.
Two completely different quarterbacks, two completely different teams. Let's first off start by saying Tampa is a top 2 team in the NFL. Yeah. Unbelievable team. So to play this game within one score, I didn't think was going to be the end result. I had it as like an 9-point margin of loss. So maybe I did think it would be a little bit closer. But once again, Lou, it comes down to too little too late. I think you said that. Like, you can't get off to these slow starts on both sides. I mean, as good as the adjustments were down the stretch, I think in both games the last 2 weeks, even the defense, they're doing the Jim Schwartz thing. Like, they just can't get settled in until after the first drive or two. And then they get
later.
Yeah, exactly. But they did a good job. I mean, they shut them out the fourth quarter once again. They were able to hold them to 7 points after halftime. That's not an easy test going up against Tampa Bay. The offense, on the other hand, yes, they came back within 6 points there at the end, but you're not going to sustain any sort of winning formula, even for your offense or defense. The defense is not going to be able to win sitting on the field for 40 minutes a game. It's just not going to happen. It's impossible. Yep. And it starts with having the offense be able to at least convert one first down a drive. There was one point in that game, I think they had like 4 out of their 5 drives were 3-and-outs. That's not going to work in this league, especially when you're going up against Tampa Bay, one of the best teams in the NFL, team that's built for the modern game. Even though they have Tom Brady, he was able to adapt to this modern game. They have the playmakers. And at the end of the day, it comes down to your personnel not being as good as theirs. And we know that this season was figuring out who you had in terms of personnel, but also finding out what it takes to get that good. So taking a look at the Kansas City, the Dallas game tonight, you know what it takes to beat an elite team. So don't get all stuck in the mud at the negatives.
And the Chiefs game too, Gino.
Yeah, the Chiefs game for sure.
I think the moral of the story is those are 3 of the best quarterbacks in football, the greatest of all time, maybe the best right now in Patrick Mahomes. Dak Prescott is an MVP candidate this year. All 3 of those teams were able to put up points, and you needed your offense to stay on par with that offense. And you don't have the quarterback right now to do it straight up. And I know right now the head coach is always going to get the blunt of the responsibility over the general manager, over the quarterback, especially when people really, really want Jalen Hurts to be the guy because he's easy to root for. Nick Sirianni is going to get most of the criticism. But, Gino, Jalen Hurts just simply bad again. He was terrible. 12 of 26, 115 yards on the day through the air, a touchdown and 1 interception. Yeah, did he have 44 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns? Sure. But again, it's not enough. And we said this last week. It's like you want to keep being patient because you see the clutch gene. You see him being able to come back, and you see the playmaking ability with his legs. But he's been flat out terrible as a passer in 3 of the last 4 games. And the game that he was good, it was against a Chiefs defense that's letting everybody do that to them. It just wasn't enough, and it's the same issues every single week. It's just not going to be enough. He hasn't done enough to prove that he's QB1 next year. It's all the same issues that are not developing. I mean, the inaccuracy today was brutal. The weak arm really showed its ugly head. I think especially that underthrow to Jalen Reagor in the first quarter. He was missing plays yet again today, dropping his eyes, not really reading the defense well, and just missing plays on the field with his arm. It's just too inconsistent. It's not coming. The development is not there. And so I don't want to say he is what he is 10 starts in, but he's again been the same player, and he has a flash here or there. Like the throw to Devontae Smith over the middle was a great throw in the fourth quarter, but he doesn't string those plays along on a consistent enough basis to be a top guy. And he just doesn't have the talent, to me, to be patient rather than using the assets next year and getting somebody with a better physical skill set. He's a limited passer, and, is he great in the fourth quarter and can he run? Yeah. But eventually that's not going to be enough, especially when you play a team like Tampa Bay. You can get the job done against Atlanta and Carolina, but not against Dallas, Tampa, and Kansas City. It's just not going to do it.
And I want to kind of address that in a couple parts. And let's start with the game plan and why all of a sudden we have to run the ball against Tampa, who was allowing 45 yards on the ground.
That's the issue.
The idea, though, Lou, that you were going to start by quote unquote like setting up the run early on wasn't going to work.
He's one of the worst in the leagues, Gino.
Exactly.
And
and how you set up the run against a team like that is getting the ball out quick, getting these guys on an island, and even that quick stuff. Like Jalen Hurts almost threw I knew it was later in the game, but just that dump screen to Miles Sanders, like stuff like that.
It was back-to-back plays. He almost threw a pick on that same drive. And Troy Aikman said it best. It's just those are 2 throwing attempts by a quarterback that's just not seeing the field.
Right. And I think that's his biggest issue so far in this season. And it comes a lot to dropping your eyes, like not having faith in that pocket, which a lot of the times when he was breaking the pocket, Lou, like he didn't need to. I'm literally screaming there one time, like he was doing the thing Carson Wentz did a lot in the last 2 seasons, which we ridiculed that guy from the mountaintops for putting himself in a precarious position. And if you can't do the little things right, like getting those balls in play and just hitting your wide receivers and trusting those guys to get open against Tampa, who was down their top 2 corners. Their 4th best corner goes out in Richard Sherman within a couple plays of the game. Jamel Dean is on a bum knee, and you have Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Jalen Reagor, who are all creating separation, and you're just not able to hit them. You have to be able to open up the pass game to set up the run. Like it's a give and take, because you're not going to run into an 8-man box. A good team will do what Tampa did tonight and play against the Eagles' strengths. They were never going to let the Eagles run the ball because they know that they wanted to put the ball in the hands of Jalen Hurts. And hats off to Todd Bowles, because he's known to do that. He's known to take away your best weapons. And yes, they rushed well towards the end of the game when they're going against 5-man boxes. Like that's right. The whole thing. Like you have to be able to set up the run with the pass. You have to be able to set up the run to get the pass, but you're not going to get all of those things if you just can't do little things correctly. And tonight it was Miles Sanders not hitting the hole well again. His vision just seems to be off a little bit. The offensive line wasn't up to snuff as it was last week going against Carolina. It wasn't all on Jalen Hurts, like don't get me wrong, but your defense there was a large majority in a pass heavy game plan, which I agree with, Lou.
And it had to be. I mean, this is my thing with the Sirianni stuff.
To be.
Yeah, look, I mean, I thought Miles Sanders actually looked really good in the second half. Like you said, it was against a lighter box, but 6.2 yards per carry, 9 of 56 today. He does need to get the ball more, but I'm not a guy that's going to scream run, run, run when Tampa
Right.
Bay scores 28 points and,
Yeah, you're
pretty
down
much
21-7 in a blink of an eye. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's set up the run here.
So,
Like, of course.
Yeah, I keep seeing people say on Eagles Twitter, like, this offense is not built to maximize Jalen Hurts' strengths. To me, the same people that say that will then 5 minutes later say there's too many screen passes, as if that's not to make Jalen Hurts comfortable, because they need to create these manufactured plays through the air, because Jalen Hurts can't make the tight window throws that it takes when you're not being a gimmicky offense and you're not trying to draw. Nick Sirianni, look, yeah, the play calling is important, but execution to me is so much more important. And there were open plays to be had today where Devontae Smith was open. Quez Watkins was open.
Man.
Jalen Reagor should have had 2 touchdowns today, but Jalen Reagor, right? Did I say Reagor? Yeah. Jalen Hurts,
both on the left and right side.
Underthrew the first one, was late to the second one. Both were pass interference calls, but they should have been touchdowns instead. And so there were plays out there that were left by your quarterback. And the reason the offense is the way it is because of your quarterback, I think, right now. That's why there's so many screens. And I don't know. I mean, the way these games are playing out, you need a guy that can throw 30 to 40 times to get you back in the football game. And Sirianni knows it, but they don't have the guy. And let's also, real quick, before we move off Hurts, let's not pretend like they're also not trying to really fast forward this evaluation by getting more tape into these games with his passing attempts. Like, it's a rare way they're deciding their quarterback in 1 year with all the assets they have next year. I totally think too, this is an organizational wide agreement that they're going to put the pressure on Hurts and see if he can sink or swim. I truly believe that.
And the idea of like developing a young passer nowadays, I don't think it is what it was with Aaron Rodgers. Like, Look at Josh Allen. They threw that kid into the fire, and I'll eat crow all day on it. But they let him do it.
Into the fire now.
Yes, you have to see what you have. It's too quick of a league to sit on your hands for 2 or 3 years, because that could set you back more years than that. Could set you back 4 or 5, 6, 7 years. And if you don't figure it out and quick, you're going to be in that same predicament. And Jalen, yeah, man, it's gonna be tough. Like, I get it. You're gonna be in games where you're going to have to pass. Well, you know what? Dak Prescott, right down in Dallas in your division, is throwing 50 plus times a game and has that ability. And they threw him into the fire.
It's not 1992, man.
I'm not going to sit here and feel bad for these people. I'm not going to do it. It doesn't matter like who you are, Jalen Hurts, Joe Flacco. It doesn't matter who's in at quarterback. I'm watching this kid on a throw-by-throw evaluation. I think Emery Hunt, this guy, he's like, how come only certain quarterbacks are judged on a throw-by-throw evaluation? Oh, every quarterback ever to play in the NFL was judged on a throw-by-throw evaluation. What a ridiculous thing to say.
And, Gino, too, they're going to be more patient with a player that has a better physical skill set. That's just the reality of the NFL.
Is his arm going to get stronger?
Yeah, no, that's my thing. Like, yes, could Jalen Hurts with time go on that Dak Prescott timeline? Sure. But is it, as an organization, you have to ask yourself, is he worth giving that patience for when you have the assets you do, when there are options out there that giving the patience to them instead could lead to a better ceiling? And that's just the reality. People say all the time, they ask me, you gave Carson Wentz all this patience. Why aren't you giving Jalen Hurts the same thing? Is it just because he's a second-round pick and the other guy was a first? Yes, but guess what? There's a reason he was a second-round pick, and there was a reason that most teams didn't even have a second-round grade on him. Daniel Jeremiah said most teams he talked to had a fourth-round grade on him because he doesn't have the arm.
Is that really cool that he said?
Yes, Daniel Jeremiah this offseason said that most teams he talked to, they had a third- or fourth-round grade on Jalen Hurts, and the Eagles were a team that liked him more than most. And it makes sense. Nick Saban saw it. It's why he was benched for Tua, and the NFL saw it too. And the Eagles, I think they see it too, because they were flirting with other quarterback options this offseason, and I think they're going to do it again next year until this development is progressed faster, Gino. It's stalling for sure. And I love seeing the comebacks, and I wish he was developing more, believe me, but it's not happening.
Yeah, and the idea that like he's going to develop his accuracy better, and to me, I don't know, because the thing with Josh Allen when he was coming in, he never had a season where he was a high accuracy thrower.
Right.
But now you've seen that he is. Jalen Hurts had a 70+% completion percentage at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
At the FBS level. The timing in the NFL, it's faster. You have to be more pinpoint. If like Troy Aikman said, we are in a world where I'm agreeing with Troy Aikman.
I know you both made Troy Aikman points today.
I almost like Troy Aikman, as dumb as he was about going for 2 points, not understanding basic analytics late in the game. He made a great point. That quarterback isn't seeing the field well. And that goes to either one, his confidence, which it should be. If he's not seeing the field well and he's not confident as a guy who is already late in his timing, already late in getting through his progressions, he gets out of the pocket too quickly. Things are going. Nick Sirianni said it in his press conference. Like, too much happened out of structure tonight. Sometimes you have to stand in there and make that throw, like the Devontae Smith throw. Like, show me that more and more. Like,
you only see it like once or twice a game.
What did I say about flashes, Lou? What do I say about flashes? Do you remember this quote I say?
I don't, but I think
flashes get you fired. Flashes get you fired. And he flashes at times, man. Like, he does, but how long can you flash before that fire? Like, you're out of flint and you can't start that fire, man.
Especially this year. It's
and going into this offseason, Lou, I'm going to see Jake Haener live Saturday. Let me tell you what.
I went to see Malik Willis a few weeks ago.
Malik Willis, Jake Haener, Carson Strong. I mean, the
Matt
list
Corral
is not as bad as people think it is.
It's not.
And you're going to be pressed as an organization to evaluate your quarterback, which you will still get 11 more games. And at that time, you'll have 20 games of tape. So you're either going to see.
It's more than a lot of players get.
Right. Lou, let's just say this. Although you and I are critical of him, we still know that he's going to get the rest of the year to see if he can prove himself.
Oh yeah, I don't. We're not Minshew to play.
My Minshew Mania tweet tonight, like, that's obviously a joke. Like, the guy's it's a meme at this point for sure. Yeah. But Jalen Hurts, at the end of the season, you're either going to see if those flashes can spark a flame or if he is going to continue at this pace. And if it is this pace for the rest of the season, Lou, I think your decision is made for you. But if he does progress into the easier part of the schedule, we know that this wasn't going to be the easiest part. But if you could pick up a few wins against your division and he looks good against Washington, he looks good against the Giants, looks better against Dallas, then we can have a discussion. Okay, maybe he does have what it takes to play in this division, but does he have what it takes to play against the rest of the NFL? That's the question mark. But right now, one, we don't have enough information, and two, at the current pace, and we're not going to extrapolate, it's just not looking great, but you have to see the consistency. Take away the positives from what he does. He makes it an 11-on-11 game, late in games all the time. He understands when to hold that read for as long as possible. He's able to come back late in games. But if the confidence is only there late in games and you're not seeing the stuff, like, to prepare for a game, you got to prepare Monday through Saturday. If the stuff Monday through Saturday isn't clicking, you're not understanding the coverages, you're not knowing where your favorable matchups are. He should have been taking advantage of these 6th and 7th corners for the Buccaneers.
And that was all kind of the case week 2 against San Francisco. I mean, they had a Josh Norman that just came off the streets, and that was really it. And they didn't take advantage of that secondary either, Gino. This is a constant theme. And like you said, it's not all on Jalen Hurts. And we're going to get more into Hurts tomorrow on Locked On QB1, so we'll definitely keep talking about QB1. But yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't all on Jalen today. I did think the play calling was off, but I don't know. I'm more of a Sirianni apologist right now, just based on the situation. I want to talk to you about
he does make mind-boggling decisions before we go off of this.
No, go ahead.
There definitely are decisions, but don't get on him for the idea to run the ball. He said it at halftime, and the halftime reporter said, we knew we weren't going to be able to run the ball against Tampa Bay.
There is a run option.
It's a designed run. It's a run.
Jalen Hurts is pulling.
Or run pass option.
Right.
It was a designed run at first, and he was making the wrong read.
Jalen Hurts has been pulling most of the time, and there's times where he's pulling, and Miles Sanders is a light box, and there's a hole there, or Kenny Gainwell, and Hurts is still pulling it down. But I don't think people think about RPO plays. They think of traditional handoffs, and that's what they're not.
Yeah, I think the first play of the game was as evident as ever. And Miles Sanders, all he had to do was hand the ball off to him, and he probably would have picked up a couple. Instead, Shaq Barrett comes off the edge and has them all bottled up. They were going to game plan for that all day long. It's just you have to adjust to this pace of the game. And what Tampa is throwing at you is like fighting Tyson Fury right now. Like, you're going to get everything from every different look, every different punch, uppercut, jab. They're going to hit you with some haymakers. They're going to jab you to death at times. And if you can't play to that caliber, you're not going to compete in the NFL. So today, you either learn from that and you go and play Detroit and you get back level and you figure out who you are, or this is a much bigger misunderstanding when it comes to the whole makeup of this roster than what we see at face value. And I think they can get back on track now that they're playing a little bit easier schedule, Lou. I mean, playing Tampa, it's difficult, man. Like, nobody in the NFL has Vita Vea. Vita Vea, Jason Pierre-Paul, these guys that could get after you. It's a short week, a young coaching staff. I'm not going to give anybody slack, but it is one of those games that at 21-7, Lou, it could have been a 35, 40-point game. Hey, they at least held them to 28-22. In the end,
I think it was 28-7 at one point too, right?
Yes, they were down. Yes, because I did bet the lead would never be bigger than 16.5 points for either, and they went up 17 points, correct?
Yeah. I think, the one positive on offense, Quez Watkins, again, only 3 catches, but 44 yards. And man, I mean, some of the circus catches this kid is making week in and week out is incredible. And he made another one in the back of the end zone. In college, it would have been a touchdown. He goes over the defender like he did against Dallas on Monday night. He got 1 foot down, but he couldn't put the other foot down. Quez Watkins was the best offensive player tonight again. And this kid, I mean, look, I liked him coming out of the Southern Miss. I didn't expect, even me, like I was a Quez stan coming out of that draft class. And even I didn't expect him to look as polished as he does just in year 2. And I don't think this is a Travis Fulgham thing. I think this is sustainable. And I mean, look, Rager today probably should have had 2 touchdowns outside of the one bad drop. I actually thought he had a good day, but Quez Watkins is wide receiver too. And he was the best player on the field tonight on offense. So hats off to Quez.
I think Jalen Rager is doing enough. I just think the timing with him and Jalen Hurts is just off. Like, those two aren't, they're not in rhythm with each other. Like Rager, he's winning those go routes. Like, he won them all night long tonight. Yeah. And it's just a timing thing. And that's another thing we got to look at, Lou. Like, does the timing get better with these young weapons that are going to be there? Smith ain't going anywhere. I think Jalen Rager still has a lot of potential. Devontae Smith is the future. And those guys should have been the key integral part of this game plan, in my opinion.
And yet, Devontae Smith only had 2 catches today for 31 yards.
He was open, man. He was. He was open a lot of the game. And it's either you get on rhythm or you find another quarterback that can make those throws. Simple as that.
Yeah, 100%. So that's for the offense. Gino, moving to the defensive side of the football. Again, it was the tale of 2 halves, right? I feel like it was too little, too late. I loved the adjustments. I thought they got more aggressive in the second half. I thought you saw a lot more man coverage for not only the corners, but I thought Dave Taylor actually did really well against OJ Howard. He made a great play on 3rd and long. But again, why did you start off back at what you were doing the first 4 weeks of the season, where you're playing this soft cover 2, no matter the situation? You can do that against Sam Darnold, even though they didn't. But you can't do it against the greatest quarterback of all time, the smartest quarterback of all time. That's always going to take what you give him. And guess what? He's not going to make mistakes. They were way too soft early in the game, and that built a hole, and that killed really the momentum of this game early on. And so the defense, I thought, rallied at the end, but it was too little too late. And it's just, again, like you said, it was the Jim Schwartz stuff. It took too long to adjust. And Gannon should have saw the game plan last week. And against Tom Brady, look, you're going to get beat a lot if you play man coverage and you blitz. But against Tom Brady, like, you got in these weapons, like, you have to go for it. You can't play soft because they're going to find the holes and beat you. And they did that in the first half.
That's about as good as you could put that. And Jonathan Gannon has to realize that. And I'm glad Rob Gronkowski wasn't in this game, because it could have been a downright nightmare if he were in there. And it also comes down, or all in all, it comes down to not having the personnel in the secondary, not having good enough linebacker play. I think Davion Taylor is like the only guy that deserves to be out there at any
Alex
given
Singleton,
time.
Brutal today. The amount of missed tackles in the open space. Oh my God.
He's a guy that he was serviceable for a year, but
he's good depth.
They're going to get you're going to get exposed when you have that limited athleticism against a team like that. And when Leonard Fournette is chewing you up, man, like that's a tough one to come back from, because Lenny is not a guy who's known for his passing game. And on the outside, like Darius Slay, I thought he had another good game against Mike Evans. Let those guys go toe to toe. Like you're not
late in the game though too. Like Gino, Antonio Brown got hot, and you don't have Slay shadowing the hot receiver. It's just like, why was Marcus Epps? Marcus Epps, I thought actually had good coverage on that third down that ended the game. But why is your best cover corner not on Antonio Brown in that situation? That's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating on all accounts and in all facets of this game. I mean, Jake Elliott even misses a field goal. So they weren't perfect in any of the units here. And some of the decision making, like should you have gone for it on 4th and 10 late in the game, potentially. Just in the end, Tampa's a much better team from you, and you have a lot to learn. And I think it's as simple as that. Like you're just not ready to compete with these top 10 teams in the NFL. And it's as clear as day in the results from Dallas, from Kansas City, from Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Like you could stay in the games, but those teams, they have the finishing
They're
punch.
not getting blown out of the water, which is a good sign. And it was good to see them rally against the Super Bowl champion. But yeah, I agree with you, Gino. Like you can tell a clear gap. And again, I mean, the biggest gap in those 3 games was at the quarterback position, and that's the most important position. But yeah, again, on defense too, I love this tweet from Jordan Reed of the Draft Network. He said the last time the Eagles have drafted these positions in the first round, linebacker, 1979, cornerback, 2002, and safety, never. And he said it's time to end at least one of those streaks. And I agree, man. It's time. Look, I know this team is always going to invest. I know, especially for you at safety. And I know they're always going to invest in the trenches, and that's a smart play. But you have to eventually address the second and third level in more than just a Band-Aid signing type of way. You have to build a long-term foundation at those spots, because you don't have the bodies. And when offenses are as talented as they are at receiver and tight end and running back, look, they're just as important to me as the trenches. You got to have trench play, but you got to have those guys too, or else your pass rushers aren't going to get there. Tom Brady, he gets the ball out in 1.5 seconds. You got to have those guys that can hold on.
You have to. And it's evident that athleticism, as much as they did bring in, you can't lack it at any position nowadays. I mean, look at Tampa when they're fully healthy, right, Lou? Like you throw Antoine Winfield back there, Sean Murphy, Bunting. These guys have athleticism on the back end. Levante David and Devin White, one of the best combinations at linebacker in the league. And yeah, you have Davian Taylor, one good linebacker, but you have
one good athlete. We don't even know if he's a good linebacker yet.
I think he's understanding the game a lot better, especially tonight in the pass game, which I always thought was his biggest concern. Like, can he adjust to understanding the pass? And I think he's done a very good job. And the other guys like TJ Edwards, he had some plays, but he's limited. Eric Wilson is what he is. Alex Singleton is what he is. Marcus Epps might be the unsung hero, but at the same time,
is what he is too, Gino.
Yeah. At the same time, though, you need to invest in those positions. Like hearing safety, never being drafted in the first round.
And the last favorite position in the top 2 was it Jaquan Jarrett in 2011,
who was a bum. Yeah, he was terrible.
Or Nate Allen.
Nate Allen. Yeah, they were both bad.
So that wasn't usually your history of drafting safeties when you do isn't even good. But yeah, Gino, I just feel like, I mean, to wrap this up, I feel like most of the issues today were the same issues that have hurt this team all year. And that's not a good sign when the issues are consistent, because I don't know, that means you're not adjusting, but it also just means you have problems that just you can't really, like some of these problems you just can't fix until next year. The quarterback is who it is this year. The personnel and defense is what it is. The coaches, they can adjust. And I think the defense was too slow to adjust today. But again, there's only so much you can do when you don't have the execution and you don't have the personnel. Coaches are going to get a lot of the blame. But to me, I don't know. Players play, and I heart more on that than anything.
And that's the way I look at it. So when the end of the season comes, Jalen Hurts will have played 17 plus 4.5, so about 22 games, right?
Right.
Nick Sirianni, he's in a first season where he doesn't have his guys, like you come in, like Yeah, he has personnel, but Gannon is playing with Jannard Avery as a Sam linebacker who shouldn't be playing Sam linebacker in this
By the
league.
way, wait, hold up. Can we talk about that taunting rule?
Worst rule in football. Makes targeting look like the Declaration of Independence. Like it's
This
not
is
even
worse than
the
the
same
celebration
jurisdiction.
rule they used to have, man. I mean, this is unbelievable. They let these guys basically murder each other on the field, but they can't go like this in their face or wag their finger like Jalen Mills. I mean, it is the worst rule I've ever seen.
We need to have a discussion about how bad NFL referees are.
And I don't like to normally be the ref guy, but this year, brutal. And I'm not going to get fined for that. We can say it. The players can't,
I'm not
going to
say that Jannard Avery call cost them the game. I'm not going to be that guy.
No.
But that's a call that shouldn't be made at that point in the game.
Or like the Quez Watkins catch on the sidelines. That shouldn't have had to be challenged. Why was that even?
No. Dude, I'm telling you, robots can do this job. Like, you just have sideline technology.
At least a lot of it. The chain gang should not exist anymore.
No. Is he in or is he out?
On the ball.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. And the pass interference that was called on Darius Slay, I think it was ticky-tacky. Like, Mike Evans is a big physical guy who hand fights all day long. What do you expect Darius Slay to do? The pass interference that wasn't called on Quez Watkins should have been touchdown. There's a problem with the referee.
Gets hit in the head on the one play on the long left sideline.
And where people called it a drop, but he was mauled. Like, the guy was mauled on that.
He literally got elbowed in the head right as the ball's coming down. I mean, he's getting brought to the ground. That's why it was such a tough catch. Yeah, I agree, man. I don't normally like to be the ref guy because I feel like it happens a lot and it always will as long as humans are officiating the game. But this year, not just with the Eagles, but across the NFL landscape, officiating has been brutal. And you hear it, like Joey Bosa the other day after the Chargers game was saying it, even after a win, like the refs are just flat out bums this year. And they are. And again, that didn't cost the Eagles this game. They definitely did.
If anything, can help them with those pass interference calls.
I know, yeah. But just a lot to get into with this team, Gino. I don't think I don't know. It's like sometimes I feel like they're really far away, and then sometimes I'm like they're close. And it's just back and forth, and I don't really know what to think right now. It's been a conflicting season for sure.
I think when I previewed this first 6 stretch of the season, I thought 2-4 was a reasonable
I think we both had the
record to come away with. And taking stock of where we are right now, I think results-based, I think we've been better than we had expected. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the stuff in between the results, I think, is a little bit shocking to us. Sure. Still taking too many silly penalties, still playing some questionable decisions on the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball. They're going to get better. They're in the rookie season of their head coach. Jalen Hurts, if he can figure it out with this offense, it'll be promising. And if not, I don't think Nick Sirianni is going anywhere. I really believe that him, Howie, and Jeffrey are on the same page with what they expect. And call me a contrarian. If you want to be on the opposite side of being a passing team, I don't want to be on that team. I want to be a team that is pass happy, that can deal with the Tom Brady's. And, man, if they even capitalize on 1 or 2 of those drives in the second quarter, getting even a field goal, you have a chance to win this game tonight.
Maybe get a lead, and then you can run the football. I mean,
yes, and Tampa did that. Tampa ran the ball exactly how you should run the ball tonight. Yeah. You run it a couple times early on.
Pass to get the lead, and then run to keep it.
Bingo, Lou. Bingo, bingo, bingo. I think that's what it comes down to. It's not on Nick Sirianni. It's not all on Jalen Hurts. It's not all on anybody. Everybody has to look themselves in a mirror. And next week, Lou, I think that's really where we see the character of this team. Are you going to be a team that lets this negative play affect you? Or are you going to be a team that goes into Detroit, a game you should win, and go in there and dominate? That's what we'll see, and I think that'll be very telling of where this team is to go in the future.
100%, Gino. The Eagles fall today, Thursday Night Football, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 28-22. They fall 2-4 on the season. We'll be back tomorrow for Lockdown QB1. We got to dive deeper into Jalen Hurts and this performance and his performances over the last month. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your shows, Monday through Friday, 5 episodes a week, guys. We thank you for making Lockdown Eagles your first listen each and every day, or watch every day, because we are on YouTube as well, and we're on Twitter at LockdownBirds, at GC24_football, and DiBiase LOE is my personal account. That's going to do it for the post-game show. This has been Locked On Eagles. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. As always, thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening. And let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.